for me, one of the things that I did, so I was selling lumpy websites, so lumpy revenue, which was websites, which when I say that, I mean selling project-based things, which meant that I'd have to go out and sell more in order to deliver it. And then it would just be a rinse and repeat cycle. That's what I have to do. And so one of the things that I found was like, I'm like, okay, well, this sucks. How can I go and do something completely different? And so I would then go and spend more of my time to look for different businesses to run to try and make the money short term to make up for the difference of the time that I was actually investing in the website business.
Can you articulate that or dive more deeply? Because I almost look at that and go, that's kind of long-term thinking. You've acknowledged, hey, this business isn't great. I've got to find something else to solve this problem long-term. But you're almost suggesting that it was like, no, I'm actually just trying to like cover up a flaw in the business model. So maybe it's, all right, websites are really lumpy. I'm going to start making business cards to just fill in little gap revenue.
I love the fact that you've picked this up because that was going to be the second point I was going to make on it. So initially it was, how do I find a business model that's got better profit margins that I can deliver quicker, easier, repetitively than this, which is why I went to like drop shipping and affiliate websites. It's like, infinite supply. I can totally do these things. And it was only because I went out and saw other people who were perceivably making good money that I'm like, well, something's got to be quicker and easier for me than that. But the problem with a lot of the things that I did, they weren't long term. It was literally to try and get me out of the current short term.
So is this like fad hopping? Were you one of those guys selling like hoverboards or something?
I'm sure if I went back 15 years, I'd be selling fidget spinners. Like it's just like, so that was the challenge. And so even though in my mind, I thought I was looking for the infinitely better long-term solution, like looking back at it, all I was doing was I was jumping from a short-term pain to another short-term pain to another short-term pain because I didn't actually stop and think and go, how can I build a long-term base, right? And so to your point around a podcast, like how can I build that thing that I want to do for the next 10 years, 15 years or whatever and start doing that today? It was more, how do I generate the cash today and at what things can I jump onto with my knowledge in order to pull in that cash really quick? Like, and these affiliate sites lasted like 6 months. Some of these e-commerce sites lasted like 6 months, 12 months. The longest one did like 5 years, which was great. But it was 1 out of like 12. I was like a VC firm trying to figure out which one was going to be the one as opposed to actually choosing the long-term play from the very get-go and sticking with that the whole way through.
Completely. Do you ever look back and just think about like we were on the internet at a time where you could grow email lists for like, 20 cents, per person and stuff. And like there were people that saw that opportunity and they went all in on like growing audience in some way as a type of asset, whether it's podcast or email list. There was people that went all in on like, I believe you know this person as well, like owning certain websites, like lead gen sites for plumbers or lead gen sites. And like they saw the opportunity in building the asset. And instead of being short-term extraction focused like you and I, it's like, how do I get my $5,000 a month to pay the bills? They were injecting any of the short-term profits they made into assets.
And assets that had a long-term play. It's really interesting. There's a couple of guys that I catch up with that I knew when I first started business, some of which I went through university with, and they are still in the same business after like 15 years and crushing. And they've just like seen my journey was just like hopping, and then I changed it after a couple of years and I just went, that's it, I'm going to go for long-term focus. But they knew what they wanted to do from the outset and they knew the business model, and they went through, to your point, this pain of starting it up, the cost behind it, and they go, this is the thing that's going to actually lead me to a better long-term outcome. And this is the greatest case study of like the pain that I went through on short-term jumping for a couple of years compared to themselves and like where they've ended up. It works.
I want to frame something here though. I think to use this example, you and I clearly, we'll just say we've learned from this. We both would probably do things differently if we went back in time. And I think many people out there may consider if they are short-term focused and not turning it into long-term wins. But I would just want to highlight another thing here around employees. I find in a lot of cases, what I did and have seen commonly is when many people hire, they hire based on the need of what their business has today and the pain they're in.
Yep.
All right, and they don't think necessarily strategically in the idea of, well, who am I going to need 3 years from now? And they might, let's say, promote one of their team who was a good salesperson into being a sales manager instead of hiring the sales manager that knows how to lead a bigger team that they're trying to grow into. So again, when you shift the question of like, how do I solve the problem today into how do I build the business I want 5 years from now, you start to come up with very different answers in how you approach things. Like the frame reset adjusts the actual answers to the solutions and problems you have within your business, right?
Yeah.
So I would encourage everyone out there to really come back to where they're trying to go long-term and try and re-engineer, do I actually have the things that I need to be successful in that today? Am I thinking and looking in that way?
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all, and you want to dive deeper into creating wealth inside and outside your business, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.